Trading card games. What comes to mind when you hear those words? Most of us would think Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, or even Hearthstone, but there is one that without its presence, many others would not exist. I, of course, am talking about Magic the Gathering, the very first trading card game. Some of you may be asking yourself, what is Magic the Gathering? I've never heard of it, and if you have, great. If not, that's not a problem. We all start somewhere, and for some of us, that journey starts here. Magic the Gathering was invented in 1993 by Richard Garfield, a mathematician who was spent 7 years trying to get another game published, Robo Rally. He pitched his game to a small company known as Wizards of the Coast. They loved the game but thought it would cost too much to make, so they wanted to make a simpler game that could be played easily and portably. 120 cards and a few days of constant play later, and Magic the Gathering was born. With trading card games, there's one thing to do before you can play. Make a deck. We're familiar with card games like Uno, where some cards are basic and some, like Plus Boards and Skips, allow for different things to happen. Magic the Gathering is no different, except there are many different aspects and mechanics to consider. Before we get into making our own deck, allow me to break down how the game works. Magic the Gathering is a card-based real-time strategy game. In Magic the Gathering, or MTG for short, you take on the role of a planeswalker, losing mana to cast spells, place enchantments, and summon creatures to fight by your side. In a standard game of MTG, all players have a starting life total of 20, and once you hit 0, you're dead. Mana is a resource in the game that the game revolves around. As stated in the official rulebook of Magic the Gathering, mana is the primary resource in the game. Players spend mana to pay costs, usually when summoning creatures or casting spells and activating abilities. There are 6 colors of mana: red, green, black, blue, white, and colorless. Each player takes turns drawing cards, summoning spells, and attacking. A standard deck for MTG consists of 60 to 75 cards, containing 6 of the main card types: creatures, instant and sorcery spells, artifacts, enchantments, and lands. Each card type has its own way of play. Let's start with the basics. Land cards. Land cards are used to summon creatures, cast spells, and if needed, activate the abilities of given cards. There are 5 types of land: mountain, forest, swamp, plains, and islands. A deck can consist of 1 to 5 of the land types, allowing for the uses between each card in the deck. When using mana, you must tap it, or turn to the side to resemble being used for the given spell. Next, we have creature cards. Creature spells are just that, spells that you summon. Wizards of the Coast, the publishers of MTG, state that creatures fight for you. They can attack during the combat of your phase and block during the combat of an opponent's turn. You can cast creature spells during your main phase, and it remains on the battlefield as a permanent. Creatures are summoned by what is called a converted mana cost. A converted mana cost is the amount needed to summon anything in MTG. If a creature dies, it must be put into the graveyard unless stated otherwise. Next is instant and sorcery spells. Instant spells are just that, instant. Like creature spells, you must pay the cost of the spell. Instant spells can be cast at any time, during your turn, during an opponent's attack, or summoning. Unlike creature spells, once the spell resolves, it must be put into the graveyard unless stated otherwise. Sorcery spells work the exact same as instant spells, but only on your turn. Artifacts and enchantments can be used to buff creatures, give them equipment to use, allow you to draw more cards, and many other things. Unless destroyed, artifacts and enchantments remain on the field, unless stated otherwise. Now we've gone over the basics of what each card type does, we'll go over how to start building a deck. First, and what I believe to be the most important step, is find your playstyle. Are you an aggressive player? The red cards will light the fire. You want to have 100 life? The white cards will light your way. Want to make an opponent unable to do anything? You're feeling blue. You want really big creatures that can hardly be touched? Green is mean that way. You want to take creatures from your graveyard? Then black is your swamp. Once you find your play style, the next to do is find the cards you want to use. So you figured out your play style, and now it's time to pick the cards. You want the cards in your deck to have synergy. Each card should kind of bounce off each other. allowing for their abilities to proc or buff other creatures. In a standard deck of MTG, you want to have an average of 19 to 24 lands, 25 to 30 creatures, 5 of each instant and sorcery spells, and a mix of artifacts and enchantments based on your playstyle. Magic the Gathering can be complex at times. With over 900 rules, it is one of the most expansive and intense card games you can play. With so many choices and different playstyles, it's easy to get confused. But once you know what you're doing and how you want to play, each game is different and diverse, never ending in the same way, unless you want it to. I hope you enjoyed my speech, and if so, it inspired you to try something new. Who knows, maybe some of you already had cards, but you just didn't know what to do. I hope this helped. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and have a great day.